All right, welcome in, everybody. It's time for Full Court Press, and I double-checked. Today is Thursday. I think I said yesterday was Thursday. But, when you drive around with Brian Power all weekend to like 3 different cities, it takes a few days to figure out what day it is. But we've got our bearings. It is, in fact, Thursday, and we're going to get right into it, BP. I'm going to bring you in first. Big game. Not a big slate in college hoop tonight, but big game down in Tuscaloosa. Kick us off, Purdue-Alabama, top 10 matchup.
Yeah, when I'm driving around with myself, I often have a hard time keeping track of what day it is. Let's talk about Purdue and Alabama, though. Look, don't need to dig too deep to understand that this is obviously the headline game on tonight's slate, guys. Number 2 versus number 8, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Purdue drops from number 1 to number 2 in the rankings. We talked about this yesterday. They only beat Oakland last time out by 10. That was kind of an alarm, I guess, set off some alarm bells for the pollsters. And lo and behold, that loss, or that win, pardon me, I think for some it felt like a loss, but that win now looks even worse than it did at the time now, right, guys? Because a game we talked about yesterday, Oakland and Houston. What does Houston do to Oakland last night? Well, they won by 33 points, and yes, another first half cash for Kelvin Sampson. Truth be told, Trigg, I actually think relative to where these two teams, Purdue and Alabama, are ranked right now in the top 25 versus where they are in my power rankings, I'll call them both slightly overrated, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you guys can chime in on that if if you want to, but I'm a little concerned with the Purdue defense. You crack open the box score of that Oakland game. Purdue allows 1.1 points per possession, 52% on 2-point attempts. That's not good when you're getting ready to face a team like Alabama, who just put up 102 against St. John's. And they did that, Rob and Trigg, only shooting 11 of 35 from 3. What? Imagine how many points the Crimson Tide would have put up if they were shooting well from distance. Now, that's kind of always been a thing. They always get theirs, even when they're not shooting from 3. Even though it's a home game against the number 2 team in the country, I'll say that, is there a potential for a little bit of a letdown for the Crimson Tide here? I mean, that's not an easy game they just had against St. John's. I mean, it was an impressive performance, but going St. John's to Purdue, this is a very tough early scheduling spot. We've seen the market move in Alabama's direction. I think the key is going to be whether or not Purdue can slow the pace down, right? It's very hard to do on the road, again, especially against a team like Alabama. But at 175.5, is this total getting a little bit too high? I think it might be.
Rob, before I bring you in to break this one down, I want to point out, I do think we see the season debut of Trey Kaufman-Renn here for Purdue. He had a great game against Alabama last year in a game that Purdue kind of dominated them, if I remember correctly. Ended up winning by like 10 or so. That was so the one of the biggest early season tilts last year, Rob, was at Bama at Purdue. Purdue kind of dominated that game. I think Trey Kaufman-Renn went for like 25. So that's obviously a big deal. And as far as I'm hearing, it looks like he's going to play tonight. Does that entice you to punch back at the market at all, though, is the question?
Well, it's huge. It's definitely huge. And then the question you ask yourself is, my answer to this would probably be the former rather than the latter. But the question would be, does he come in and fit right in, or does it take him a game or two to fit right back in? Trey Kaufman-Renn's a guy who's been there, done that, played this team, as you mentioned, Adam, 26 points last year against them when they played in Mackey. So I would think he does fit right in with them, and they need him. Let's face it, without him, I don't think they're beating Alabama. But with him, it's a different story maybe. Brian, I'm sure you and Nate Oates could have a little discussion on whether or not Alabama is underrated. Direct quotes from Nate Oates, which would tell you that he's ready for this game. Nate Oates says, people are not holding his club in the correct level of esteem. Felt like when they opened the season ranked 15th, slap in the face, went and beat St. John's, still thinks they're underrated. On the other side of that coin is Purdue, who feels like against Oakland, they didn't exert themselves defensively. Again, you get into, here's Fletcher Lawyer real quick, and then I'll get into a little diatribe here. But Fletcher Lawyer, the end of the quote, it starts with the defensive end. We have to be better on defense. Credit to Oakland. They played a great game, blah, 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 blah. And it leads me back to what I said yesterday about Shaka Smart and his comments on we have to be better defensively. Everybody says this. Does it always apply? Last night, of course, my bankroll will show you that it did apply because I went against the quote and UALR scored 49 points in that game. But I think the biggest point here, guys, is for me, number one, the change of venue. Listen, the backcourts are what they are. It's a stalemate. Both. It really boils down to the front court. And as you mentioned, Brian, pace of game. Last year, it was slowed down a little bit and they totaled 165. Is 165 a slow game? 87, 78? Probably not. So can they get 10 more here in Tuscaloosa? Probably so. They're going to force you. You don't beat Alabama by not scoring what Purdue scored last year, 85 plus. You're just not going to win a game unless you get to 85 against them. They're going to put up enough shots. They're going to score enough points, et cetera, et cetera. I do think it boils down somewhat to the front court, and I think it boils down to three-point shooting. Alabama's just got more weapons than Purdue does from the three-point line. Fletcher Lawyer's off to a great start. And Alabama's the only team. Well, if Trey Kaufman-Renn plays, I guess they won't have a freshman on the floor to start the game, right? Kaufman-Renn would probably take that spot. So I think in summary here that the move toward Alabama, I feel it's probably correct. And I'm going to side with Brian on something that you said where Purdue's defensive numbers might look great so far, but I don't know how great they are, to tell you the truth. And this is going to be a test like they haven't faced all season long. Of course, they saw them last year. They saw Mark Sears on this team last year, a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. But Alabama is Alabama, and I trust in Nate Oates' should I call it anger for where they're placed right now or how they're looked at nationally. Mm-hmm. So I think Alabama probably wins, and 71.5 is a lot better than 174.5 or 175 if you're playing over. I think probably I'd look toward Bama. And if Kaufman-Renn plays, maybe that's the reason for the total movement up, guys, because he does provide offensive point production. I'll still have to look at that, but I think I'm going to side with Alabama here, -3.5.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add here, so I'll just say a couple things in closing. One, Kaufman-Renn had a real, again, I said it already, but he had a really good offensive game against this team last year. So, definitely think that there might be some correlation to him likely playing and the over moving up. Not surprised at all. It looks like there's some buyback on Purdue. 3.5 continues to get hit, but that doesn't surprise me at all. That's just like probably board cleaners taking like key numbers right there. I don't think you can really take anything from that. This is a huge game. There's going to be conviction on both sides of this matchup. So again, it's really more like, trying to get the best number with the side that you like. For me, yeah, coming off the St. John's game is not the best spot for Alabama. But you've got Purdue having to go to Tuscaloosa. We saw Bama go into West Lafayette last year and lose an early season game. So it's like a likely pass for me. Alabama still has really, really good guards that can score. So I don't really know if I want to step in front of them. So I will step to the side, if you will, avoid this one and go to a different game. But go ahead, both of you.
I was just gonna tell Rob, I've actually had a conversation with Nate Oates before.
Nice.
He didn't want to have it. This was at the MAC semifinals 10-ish years ago.
When he was a rocket launcher.
When he was still from Buffalo. Yeah, and I yelled out, Coach Oates, don't worry about number 45 on Saturday for Kent State. And this lady next to me started laughing very hard. I was like, oh, I still got it, huh? Of course, Buffalo went to the NCAA tournament that year. The next weekend, I saw that same lady on television. It was Nate Oates' wife. She really had, she was laughing up for the 2 hours. My comedy routine worked on Mrs. Oates, I'll say that. But Nate had a little smirk on his face, too, when I told him not to worry about number 45 on Kent State. But, yeah, so Nate and I have chatted. It was a one-way conversation, but a conversation nonetheless.
The nature of Brian Power conversations, one-way conversations.
Yes.
Real quick, Adam, I'm going to point out in further thought on that game and how to go about it. And we just saw the number move again, at least the one I'm looking at, which is the first half number. I feel like if you want to play Alabama in this game, you probably want to play first half. -1.5 first half. I'd expect Alabama to come out at home in this environment to come out pretty quick here. Not that Purdue's not veteran enough with their guards to withstand this venue, but I think they could get to them early, and then Purdue makes adjustments in second half rallies. Alabama's very good at giving up leads and very good at giving up points. So for me, for those who are interested in this game, I think my way to go would be here would be Alabama -1.5, which just we saw the twos cleared out just now down to 1.5.
Yeah. Because it's early in the year, because it's early, do we, they just beat St. John's, obviously. Is that less of a factor to you guys that you're coming off one big game and have another, rather than if this, if it was the second of back-to-back big games, and in obviously it would be conference games once we get to January and February. But does the fact they're coming off such an impressive performance against St. John's at a, what was basically a road game, does that bother you guys on the Alabama side?
Not really, because they're coming home. Go ahead, Rob.
I'll just make a quick point about that, Brian. Glad you brought it up, because I consider Rick Pitino's St. John's team a very good defensive team. Their style, the way they get after it, and that's the kind of team that Alabama that likes to run. St. John's likes to run back, and St. John's likes to get up on you man-to-man. And they scored 103 on that team. Pitino's quotes after that game were very, very they were directed at his defense. Let's put it that way. Yeah. He didn't like what he saw. But is that more a product of this Alabama offense? Phylon looked great in that game. He's looked great in the first two. And he had a big game here last year against this team in Mackey. So I think that it depends how you judge that 103 performance against St. John's. I would say that Alabama just shredded a really, really good defense for 103. And now they're going to come home, and they did it on the road.
All right, let's okay. Someone, I gotta call this out. Someone said, "Oh, the show went over yesterday." Mississippi Valley State covered, Binghamton covered. I think I gave out a 3%er on Cal Poly that covered. We certainly didn't go over. We certainly did not hit the parlay, but guess what? We are even without a parlay win on the week, we're still plus like 12.33 units. I have it written down here, and the point is, like, just this show is like we're just giving out thoughts. It's really on you to make the decision. If you want our picks, though, exactly what we're going to play, very, very simple to get them. You head over to wagertalk.com, and we've got great specials up. Tell them about the specials, Brian Power.
Well, there's multiple ways to get on board. How about the full court pass, 3 days for $49, that you can do this for any of the three of us, Rob, Adam, or myself. Your favorite handicapper, you get 3 days of basketball picks for $49. It's very similar to the Weekend Warrior Pass in football. It covers not just college, but NBA as well. So check that out. And if you want to lock in with any of us for a longer stretch, a little bit longer, and get every sport, football, basketball, whatever else, 10 days for $99 right now. I think that's the best deal we've got going right now at the site. 10 days for $99, all sports. Again, that's on all three of our pages as I speak.
Absolutely. Let's so we got a whole bunch of people asking about this, which I fully expected to be the case. Andrew Meek, I didn't mean to throw a paragraph over your face right there, Brian, as you were delivering that fantastic promo, but I did on accident. Andrew Meek says, "Hey guys, can you give me some info on the early game?" And I did a little research as to why we had one standalone game on a neutral site. It didn't feel like it was like part of anything, because I'm like, oh, well, what other games are in St. Petersburg, Florida today? And I found that the Showdown in St. Pete is a 3-day event where they're playing one standalone game at 11 a.m. each day. I love when these MTEs get creative like that. So shout out to whoever put this together and said, you know what? We don't have the biggest names here, but instead of playing this at 7 o'clock and no one's going to watch, We're going to put this on YouTube, so it's probably like a similar to the Field of 68 stream. And we're going to give you 3 standalone 11 a.m. starts over the next 3 days. So the first one, Rob, Central Michigan, Southern Alabama, very interesting stylistic matchup here. So I'll let you kick it off, and then we'll go around the horn and see if we have any thoughts. 11 a.m. tip in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah, let's go ahead. What I'm going to focus in on here, Adam, we've talked about many of them so far, the first 7-8 days of the show. But there's a couple that we haven't hit on, and hopefully we'll get to hit on the second one that I want to focus on here today. But it's the coaching change, and it pertains to Central Michigan. They go to the Division II route, and they pick up Ferris State head coach Andy Bronkema. Hopefully I'm saying it right, Coach. If I'm wrong, I didn't have time to go to YouTube and get the correct pronunciation of your name, but hopefully I'm right. Anyway, bottom line is he brought some Ferris State players with him. They were not good at ball protection last year, if you go back and look at Ferris State numbers. And South Alabama, one of their best assets, is taking the ball away from you. So I think you have a head coach here. We've talked a lot about cohesion. We've talked a lot about putting new rosters together. Do they come out of the gate quickly? Do they come out of the gate evaluation-wise, experimentation-wise, trying to find rotations, et cetera? I place Central Michigan in that category, trying to figure it out. South Alabama, I think, it's a neutral, of course. You don't get a home floor here, but neutral probably favors South Alabama due to location. Not that South Alabama is going to travel in caravans to the game. Don't misquote me there. But I will say that I think that particular matchup, guys, when you can pick teams up at half court, 3/4 court, or you can harass them enough to force turnovers, I like that side. I agree with the line movement here. Has it gotten out of control? 4 to 6. You see some 6.5s now. Shop it as well as you can. But for me, I would probably like the South Alabama side. I think Central Michigan has some work to do here yet. There's still a process to putting this roster together in a way where they're as competitive as they want to be.
Brian Power, I got to point something out, and then I'll kick this to you. We just went and saw Toledo play over the weekend, and Toledo opened the season with South Alabama. And the way Toledo plays offensively is very similar to the way Central Michigan plays offensively. They have a lot of the same sort of principles. Go back to that opening night game. Toledo really struggled with that South Alabama zone to start off that game. And that score, correct me if I'm wrong, was a little deceiving because it was like Toledo just went bombs away late to come back from, I think, was it like double digits down? So that would be my concern. And it has me agreeing with Rob here that the favorite is probably the right side. It got bet quickly. And at 6, I don't know if I can do it myself, but I certainly wouldn't put you off of a South Alabama bet in this spot.
Yeah, I feel this has been such a theme in the early going, guys. I hate to keep belaboring these same points, but you break down a game, you like a side, you go to the odds screen and say, my God, I'm not alone in liking this side. And that's what's happened here. Just to kind of piggyback off what you just said, Trigg, what South Alabama does defensively with they want you to take a lot of threes. And so this game, I mean, I don't want to say it's a one-factor handicap because there's no such thing really, but it's going to boil down to whether or not you think Central Michigan is going to be able to be effective from downtown in an unfamiliar environment. St. Petersburg, 11 a.m. Eastern on a Thursday. Doesn't sound like the biggest recipe to have a hot afternoon shooting from 3. So, yeah, I agree with the market here. And you were correct, Adam, about that South Alabama-Toledo game. That was a game where South Alabama led by 13 at the half. They wound up winning by 2 because, Toledo made it a little bit interesting late with some threes. So, I think Central Michigan, unless if they get unexpectedly hot from 3, they probably go down. Central Michigan, I will say I love you. You were very kind to me on the football field last night. Nice to always have a no-sweat winner like that against Buffalo as they took care of business. But I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for the basketball team this morning here in about 40 minutes. I would lean the South Alabama side for sure.
All right, Garth, thank you so much for the donation to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. We also appreciate any interaction you'll give us. Likes, subscribes, comments are huge. If you can stop by the replay, drop us a comment. Good, bad, and different. We love to hear the feedback. I've been told to talk less. As the host, it's tough, but I will try. I'm doing my best. But I do have a couple things to say about Garth's play. So he says he's leaning Cornell. Wow, it's a mouthful. He's leaning Cornell to cover the 4.5. And I would lean to you being correct, Garth. I think Lafayette is going to be bad this year, like very bad. They would be the worst team in the Patriot League this year if it wasn't for Army, who I think is maybe one of the worst teams in the country. Justin Vanderban on this team last year, a 7-footer. Like, you just don't get that in the Patriot League very often. I feel like he was sort of a Band-Aid. Like, that Lafayette wasn't very good last year either. You go back a couple of years, it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they kind of made their surprise run to the Patriot League final. And I think their coach got fired for harassing someone in the front office. It's a story for another day. But this team, I feel like the last couple of years has really relied on Vanderban to like make them even like a little bit okay. Now he's graduated, he's gone. You take a 7-footer that was productive off of a Patriot League team, and you don't replace him with like anyone of note, that team tends to fall very, very quickly in the power rankings. Now, Cornell is not in my opinion, they're not going to be quite the Brian Earl Cornell. He's now at William and Mary. I feel like they're just not quite as polished as they were when he was the head coach, but his assistant, longtime assistant, is still the coach. Like, this is still a pretty good Cornell team. I'll reference that Cornell-Kent State game where they got the exact pace they wanted, playing in the hundreds. I think that's going to be a real problem for Lafayette. And I actually think forget what I made this number, but this one was on my radar. I haven't bet it yet, but I think I had Cornell maybe like an 8-point favorite or 7-point favorite, something like. Oh yeah, I made them 8.5. So if you can still get a 4.5 out there, I think that's a decent bet. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, 3-point shooting. We talked about it each of the previous two breakdowns. Let's bring it up again. It's always such an important part of college basketball handicapping in the year 2025. Cornell, per KenPom, they're jacking it up. They have the 3rd highest percentage this year of threes relative to total field goal attempts. So they're taking when you look at their total number of field goal attempts, the Big Red, almost 58% of their field goal attempts, Rob, are coming from behind the arc. That is a high number. Again, 3rd highest percentage in the country. So they're living and dying by the three. It is a road game. Trigg, I don't know. That always does scare me, when you're relying that heavily on the three and you're going on the road. Your boy's
been there.
Okay.
I've been there a couple times. Okay. These Patriot League schools tend to get like big atmospheres for like the conference tournament type games. I don't think you're going to have a huge atmosphere in this one. And actually, last time I was there, I was sitting courtside for a conference tournament game, and this guy kept whipping me with his towel. The guy sitting next to me was like so fired up. He had a Lafayette jersey. He was like probably in his like late 20s, and they were playing Lehigh, who's their rival. And for some reason, he felt like it was cool to just like be snapping the towel. He kept hitting me. I had to move. It was crazy. And I think Lehigh ended up running them out of their own gym in that. So the towel got put away pretty quickly because Lehigh ran them out. But I don't think you're going to have that kind of towel guy. Might be there, but I don't know if anyone else is going to be there. So
your favorite whipping story, Rob. Tell us a time you've been whipped.
Yeah, you know what?
Okay,
I gotta plead the fifth on that.
Okay,
one.
All right.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's a rivalry. Lafayette Lehigh is a pretty big rivalry. I don't think they're going to get the same juice for Cornell. And I got to be honest, this one, I'm thinking about throwing this on the card. 4.5 seems good. You know what? I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna take that, and I'm also gonna make that the parlay leg. I'm about 4 points off what the market is, and 4.5 seems good. It may be 5. Who knows? We may move it, but I'm gonna add this as a client play. It was already on my radar, and I just think that there is a sizable difference between these two teams. And I would be really, really surprised if Lafayette has any answer to this like craziness that Cornell is going to throw at them. So I'm gonna lay it here with Cornell. Brian, I'm trying to give this out to clients, so hop it. I'm gonna let you give you the keys here. Hop into the comments and get us a game. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what you guys need to address.
Oh.
What is going on with the Pitt West Virginia line right now? I'm seeing it's up to like 7. Is Pitt making the trip? Are they even going to show up?
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
game?
Wow. I mean, obviously not a lot of belief there. By the way, guys, stay tuned.
That's
2
good.
more legs of our 3-leg parlay still to come. Keep those comments coming in. Of course, we always support. The easiest way to support the show is by smashing that like button and clicking subscribe. But let's talk about Pitt, West Virginia here. Wow. They are betting this one like they already know the score here. West Virginia, obviously taking a ton of money up from 2.5 to 6.5. What's funny is before we went live, I was noting how much the market liked the under. And I agree with that, Rob. Actually, maybe I know that you are kind of our resident totals expert, so I won't talk too much about it, and I'll leave the side to you because that's a crazy move on the side. But I know clearly there's some skepticism about this Pitt side. They have scored 74 points in all 3 games this season, but we all know, and we've talked about it before on this show. West Virginia, now coached by Ross Hodge. He comes over from North Texas. He's bringing over those same principles: defense, rebounding, slow pace. So I don't think we're going to continue to see Pitt shoot the ball as well as they have against their first 3 lesser opponents. Also, Brandon Cummings did not play Monday. Is that something? I mean,
he has to be out. He has to.
Yeah, but that's still a pretty big move, right? I mean, even with his absence, I mean, woo, that's
It's not
that's
LeBron.
quite the move on this side. Yeah, I know. Yeah, although, hey, the Cavs, how about that? Rob, our B squad beating the Heat last night. But this is it's obviously, look, the market loves WVU. They love the under here, and I think those 2 bets are correlated. Rob, Veno. If you like West Virginia, you like the under.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Although Pitt, under Jeff Capel you go check their pace numbers, and they're not playing quick. They've been efficient offensively. They're a way better 3-point shooting team than they are 2. And West Virginia has defended both the 3 and the 2 real well this year. So you got 2 teams that want to go a little bit slow. One team's more efficient offensively than the other, that being Pitt. But the injury concern, I mean, lines don't go 4 points that quickly. Unless there's injury concern here. So perhaps it's Cummings, and obviously side and total both moving would be the correlation here. The Ross Hodge thing, it's out of the bag, right? I mean, we knew it right off the bat. Now, I'm on a show, a separate wager talk show on Sunday where guys who handicap football know all about Ross Hodge. So it's out there. It's beyond just college basketball insiders who know what's going on with WVU. And the question becomes, when do the totals become too low on West Virginia where we can punch back and say, you know what, it was difficult. I have to tell you guys, it was difficult with North Texas, where Ross Hodge came from. You never really know, you'd be staring at a 127.5. Man, do I really want to play over 127.5 with North Texas? It's so difficult to get to. So that's a question for down the road. I would think here, though, without knowing the specifics of the injury, for the time being, this has to be a pass. We've probably told you as much as we can tell you about how, in theory, to handicap this game. 2 slow-paced teams, 1 team that depends on threes. They're better shooting threes, and the other side defends the 3 really, really well. I don't know that West Virginia's put it all together offensively yet. And listen, it's the backyard brawl in football. That doesn't mean it's not a heated rivalry in basketball, too. This thing is liable to take on a defensive nature to it. So maybe the under is still in play here, guys. I think as we talk it out here, maybe the under is still in play at 133.5.
And Keith pointed out in the chat that it's a double revenge spot. It's a double revenge spot as well for WVU. So that might be something else.
So I want to add one more thing here, because I was just kind of going over my notes, and I had jotted down the Cummings potential injury. And I said likely, and I did this when the line was 4. Okay. And so I figured that was the Cummings, being out. It is now 7. And like, all I'll say is West Virginia, for how great they have looked defensively to start the year, and how, obviously that's Ross Hodge. We just talked about that. The offense hasn't been great. I mean, they kind of barely beat Campbell. I know they ended up pulling away, ended up winning by 8, only scored 69 against Lehigh. Like, and the other team they played is Mount St. Mary's, who is probably a 9th or 10th place in the MAC type team this year. So like, my whole thing is like, even if you take a starter off this Pitt team, I don't know that they're, and I don't think Pitt's any good at all. But like, are they worse than that? Like, should they really be catching a touchdown in this game? That's like, I think that move is crazy. Now, am I crazy enough to like punch back at +7, knowing I probably don't have Brandon Cummings? I don't know. Maybe the better way to go. I think I'm with you, Rob. I think the under hasn't moved as much as I would have expected it to relative to that side move. So I think that's the way I would lean as well.
Yeah. Cummings, just for those who may be unaware, he's an 18.5 point per game scorer. You referenced that Mount St. Mary's game, Trigg. That was, I believe, as a matter of fact, yes, it was. It was my portion of the parlay of the day that day, the under. West Virginia, all 3 of their games have gone under. Those numbers were 136.5, 138.5, and 140. So interestingly enough, the totals were going up each of their games. Now it comes way back down. Lowest total of the year on a West Virginia game with the line move, and it is also the lowest total of the year for any Pitt game as well. All 3 Pitt games so far have had a total north of 141. So market has corrected itself here.
Yeah, and I believe that is Colgate great Nelly Cummings' younger brother, who also, I believe, transferred to Pitt for his final year of eligibility. So some great times out here in Central New York watching those Nelly Cummings Colgate teams, which were very, very good. Actually, Colgate's I think they probably went to the tournament 5-6 years in a row. So neither here nor there. They don't play today. But a team that does play that people seem to be asking about. And I was interested. Brian and I started talking about this one a little bit off air. So let's go hit this game. No Name Sam says, do you all think St. Thomas covers against Green Bay? He likes them first half. Brian, I'll throw it to you because we kind of already sort of started to kick this back and forth. I know you're not a Doug Gottlieb guy, but It's a pretty big move right here from the open.
Yeah, I guess that's just the theme. We're going to say that on every game here early season that, hey, you kind of like this side. And guess what? So does everyone else in America and the betting world. Look, I don't want to really pass up an opportunity to come on the Wage Talk YouTube channel and trash Doug Gottlieb. I used to call him the Trent Dilfer of college basketball. You really can't call him that anymore because Trent Dilfer's not in college football. He's been fired. Green Bay's been horrible defensively under Gottlieb. Now, are they going to be a little bit better this year? It's hard to be worse than they were last year. The issue here in this matchup, St. Thomas, they play fast. They don't turn the ball over. I think St. Thomas team total over might be how to look at this game. That way, you don't have to concern yourself as much with the way the spread has moved. I just, I look at this matchup, Trigg, and I just don't see any way. And I see Rob nodding, so perhaps I feel even better now. I don't see any way that St. Thomas doesn't get theirs at home here. I think they put up some points.
Yeah, I was really quick. I'll just endorse that, Brian. St. Thomas, such an efficient offensive team. And sometimes we get a little confused when we play totals over. Oh, well, they don't play fast enough. They don't do this quick enough. There's not enough possessions. Listen, offensive efficiency counts just as much. You can do a lot more with 10 less possessions than some teams. I'm looking at the board here. Florida International, for example, can do with more possessions under Jeremy Ballard. Run around like a bunch of chickens with your head cut off and never put it in a hoop. That's something different. So, St. Thomas, go back to last year when they were racking up 80 plus almost all the time. So, and of course that was in Summit League play for the most part, but still, I think this is a matchup that just favors them because they don't give the ball away. In Green Bay, and I'm not going to say I can't say anything more than what you guys have already said about Gottlieb, so I won't.
There's a lot of you go to this Green Bay. I mean, I know it's only a couple games in, but they were bad defense. You go to their Ken Palm page, Green Bay. There is a lot of red in the defensive column. A lot of like it's pretty rare you see this many red boxes lit up in the defensive column for a team.
So I want to say two things about this game, and then I'm going to go to Rob and probably put him on the spot to see if his parlay leg is ready. Just, good seeing where we're at in the show. So just giving him a friendly heads up for that. But what I'm going to say two things that are a little bit pro Gottlieb here. So I'm going to go against the grain on this. One, I think his team is better than it was last year, just in general. Two, I think he probably learned a lot from last year. I think it was a wake-up call that he was a little bit over his skis, taking over a college basketball program. And I think he becomes a better coach because of that. I actually am a little bit higher than the market on Green Bay. So I had this number right where it opened at 10.5. At 14, I could only take Green Bay, but I don't really want to do that. Like, that's just, I took Green Bay the other day +7. I got in at a good number against Buffalo. And I was mostly okay with what I saw. They ended up pushing that number. I think Green Bay is going to be a good team to bet on a lot of times this year. I think the market's quite a bit off on them. But St. Thomas is sort of due to smash someone. Like, they haven't had the best start to their season. I know they probably thought they could have won that Washington State game. Army that was shocking. I thought Army would probably lose that game by 25. That was somehow single digits. So again, I think St. Thomas a little overrated right now. Green Bay a little underrated, but not the spot. I think I'm going to mess with that. So I'll just leave that there. And let's get Rob. Have you figured out what you want to use for the parlay, or do you have a game that you want to throw out there for us?
Well, I've got two, so I'll make a split decision and give you one. And just for the benefit of those watching us live, I'll tell you that the two I'm deciding between are both team totals. One being Michigan State today against this San Jose State defense, which has been horrible. And the other, hopefully, Bayou Bets is here with us, because I think that's the way I'm going to go here. I'm going to play this LSU team total over 89.5, their third game, 490+. Obviously, I just talked about Jeremy Ballard and FIU. Rapid pace. LSU's not going to back down from it. How about, guys, FIU is giving up 50% from the three-point arc, not playing. And LSU, by the way, is top 50 three-point shooting team. So you're going to get pace. Again, I've talked about open floor enough. Usually that creates wide open threes. Guys can't find their man. LSU likely sinks them. Nebraska, which you really wouldn't consider a big-time offensively three-point shooting team, 17 of 34 against FIU. And Nebraska hung 96 on this team. So LSU's already proven against a couple of teams that are, defensively right in this FIU category that they can get to 90+. So I'm going to go that way, guys. I think the number I'm staring at here is 89.5 for LSU's team total. I'll take it over. And it's a, what do they call it in a horse race? A little almost dead heat, where photo finish, where we had to go and make a fast decision between that and Michigan State, because San Jose State going to the Breslin Center here tonight, probably in a little bit of trouble defensively against that team. Guys, I don't want to hog up all our time, but I did, Adam, want to get to, we've talked about a lot of coaching changes. And real quick, and I don't want to get on a soapbox, but let me just say that if you take cumulatively what we've said here over the 8 days on this show and apply it to your future college basketball handicapping, we talked about Will Wade, right? I talked about Will Wade and his obsession with making statements every time he hits the coaching floor since he got wiretapped at LSU and thrown out. And then, Adam, I think you've talked excessively about NC Greensboro not being all that great this year. You put 2 and 2 together, and last night you see what NC State did to NC Greensboro. So, guys, take what we're saying, try and apply it. That's what we do. That's how you handicap. So,
sure. Great point, Rob.
Outside of the parlay itself, just we're trying to give you tidbits that can be useful down the road. And I'm going to try and get one out here for the extra board here, guys. Coaching change. We've talked about almost all of them, but let's get into Alabama A&M real fast. I know it's Alabama A&M, but they played Charleston Southern tonight. Alabama A&M, they took Grambling's head coach this season, Dante Jackson, who is a guy who plays the exact opposite way. This is a polar opposite style contrast here. You take a team in A&M that wanted to go fast last year, and now you turn them into one of the slowest paced teams in the country. A lot of times your holdovers, guys, don't want to play that way. They're at that school for a reason. So they either fly to the portal, or if they get left behind, they don't get picked up in the portal. They have to sit here and play this molasses style of offense, and you don't exactly get the best out of their talents. He did bring some guys from Grambling with him to help create this culture, new culture here at Alabama A&M. And they're going to play Charleston Southern, who loves to get up and down. I just think that fast teams get frustrated by extremely slow teams. The point to this handicap, when I saw this number early, 155.5 total. Market's gotten to it. It's 153.5 now. Just pay attention a little bit this year to what Alabama A&M does result-wise. I think this game might be under. I think the market's onto something here. But again, it's just another thing we're trying to point out here as the season progresses. Maybe we can look at Alabama A&M before everybody gets to it. And being where they are in the SWAC, not everybody will get to it. So this thing, an under trend with A&M may just go and go and go on the tracks for a while before odds makers derail it.
Oh, that's excellent stuff, Rob. And just to clarify, your parlay leg is going to be LSU team total over. What was the number?
I have 89.5. Unless you guys can tell me different, I'm showing and I'm trying to use a consensus number here, guys.
Sure,
89.5.
Yep. And we'll double check that at the end of the show when we officially lock it in. One thing I will say, a lot of people jumping into the chat, which we very much appreciate. We already broke down the Central Michigan South Alabama game that goes at 11. Even when the show is live, you should be able to go back, especially if you're on the YouTube channel, and rewatch that. So people asking for Purdue, Alabama, Central Michigan, South Alabama, we've already talked about those. You can go, and utilize the on-demand feature, which this show is every day, live and on demand. Tell them where to find it, Brian.
Well, I'll even be a little bit. No, I'll take it a step further. We talked about Purdue, Bama right at the outset of the show, guys. And if you want to go to Central Michigan, South Alabama, it was at the 14-minute and 3-second.
Oh, the timestamp king.
You can jump right there. Yeah, that's where it was. So they were the first two games we broke down on the show today. Again, remember 10 a.m. Monday through Friday.
This show is equipped, guys. It's equipped with everything, timestamps and all.
Should we talk about the Michigan State? I feel because Rob mentioned the Michigan State game. Should we mention that?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
you and I were at the Breslin Center over the weekend, and it's a ranked team. Obviously, I think it's the only other ranked team in action today besides Purdue and Bama, who are playing each other. Is this? I mean, I guess it's just for I couldn't lay it here. Is this? I mean, they've had enough time off that I guess maybe it's not a true letdown spot for Michigan State. I mean, that place was rocking on Saturday night against Arkansas. And that was a heck of a performance, I thought, by Michigan State. I don't know. I hate the idea of backing a team laying a huge number like this after a big win like that. But Rob, San Jose State is not exactly a team that I want to run to the window to bet either. So I was just interested in Trigg, in your thoughts, having just caught this Michigan State team in person. I know you think Michigan State may be a tinge overrated as well from talking to you after the game. So, your thoughts here, because it's a decision I'm wrestling with, whether or not you can fire on the dog or not.
I'll start this and I'll go to Rob because I know he's got comments on the total. And I don't think that we're necessarily going to contradict each other either. So, again, because my volume is so much higher in college basketball, I'm a little bit more open to giving out client plays on the show because I know I'm probably gonna have more client plays than I talk about on this show, especially if they're the 3% variety. So I'll throw a second one out because I've already got 3 posted for today. So I'll throw a second one out. I did take the plus 24.5 with San Jose State, and Brian, you kind of touched on you touched on some of my reasoning. So I disagreed with the move up to 24.5. I was lower. I think I was at like 18 or 19 on the number. The spot is definitely not sort of ideal for a Michigan State like runaway blowout type performance. You just had Arkansas. You have Kentucky coming up. So that's like, it would qualify, I think, a little bit as like a sandwich type letdown spot. But I want to go back to San Jose State for a second because, yeah, even though I'm sure Rob's gonna talk to us about their lack of defense, but generally I think they are a little bit undervalued. I thought Rob talked about Santa Barbara being like a team that he's sort of in on, and I felt like they played pretty good in that game. Hung around. I believe they covered the number there, or they covered the number in one of their games so far. So San Jose State's played twice. They've been a big dog to Utah, which I believe they covered the Utah game and didn't cover the Santa Barbara game, but still played Santa Barbara to an 11-point game. They won the second half for what it's worth. Point is, the point, and I didn't even make my point yet. They're one of the teams that had guys kicked off the team last year and had people act like Tim Miles actively had guys trying to sabotage his team. And I feel like these types of teams are still, in some scenarios, undervalued in the market. And I would point to San Jose State being one of those teams. Now, I don't think, again, we're asking them to cover 24.5, right? We saw Georgetown last night come off this big win over Maryland and struggle to beat a very bad Binghamton team. So it's similar. 24.5 seems like a big number. Even if Rob's team total gets there, and I'll kick it to him, I still think I cover 24.5. So 24.5 is a play for me.
Yeah, and that's the point, Adam, right? I mean, if Michigan State gets to 84, you're only asking San Jose to get 60, and you win the game. So I don't know that you're asking the dog to do all that much. And I think San Jose State's ability to cover is just it coincides with their style. They're not going to run themselves into deficits. They're going to methodically play the game, and that tends to keep which is what makes their 84 and 85 points allowed in their first two games even more alarming. And the teams that they played are good, right? Santa Barbara's good, Utah's good, those gyms are tough, and Michigan State the same way. I think from your guys' standpoint, which side situationally totally makes sense, stylistically totally makes sense. If I'm only messing with the team total here on Michigan State side, I think Izzo might be able to get it out of his team. For what it's worth, they're giving up 62.5% field goals on the season, San Jose State, and they get crushed on the defensive boards. I mean, the one thing you don't want to let Michigan State do is get second chances. You can't walk in there 302nd in the nation in defensive rebounding and think that you're going to get away with that from a points allowed standpoint. So I think we're kind of saying the same thing from different perspectives, side and total. San Jose State, again, situationally, stylistically, more than able to keep within 24.5. But Michigan State, considering the fundamental advantages on the floor, more than capable of scoring 83 points in this game. So I see that game now, 83.5, so you need 84. Like I said, I think we're saying the same things here. Let's keep a lookout and see how Michigan State performs here, what Izzo can get out of his team in what is a difficult situation. A spot play is not good for them.
Brian, I got a question for you.
I wanted to bring this up real quick. Michigan State from 3. I kept bringing this up to you on Saturday. I said, how are they winning this game with this horrible 3-point shooting? What was it? It was Ethan actually the next day who we hung out with at the Bowling Green game. He follows the Michigan State program. He's like, that's a regular thing, especially early in the year that this team does struggle to shoot the 3. But I think they've proven they can get theirs. To each of your points, Michigan State has proven they can get theirs, right? Even with the bad 3-point shooting. But if you don't shoot the 3 well, it's really hard to cover 24.5, right? So I think we're all in lockstep. Michigan State will get theirs. However, winning by this big a margin when you don't shoot the 3 well, very difficult to do. And how interested is Izzo winning by a big margin too?
My question for you was essentially that. I was going to ask you if you were too many Spartas in to remember you point like the fact that they were getting good looks against Arkansas, they just couldn't make them. So wouldn't you say that the 3-point shooting has to be far more? I mean, they're going to have to knock them down to cover this number at a far greater rate. Like, they were still generating decent looks against Arkansas, just couldn't hit one. Do they just magically start draining threes here? Everyone thought Florida might. They didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of times we fall into the pattern of, this team shot, horribly from three last game, so they're going to bounce back now. Well, some teams are just not great at shooting the three. Michigan State has proven that they're not particularly great at shooting the three over the last several seasons. So they can still score. To Rob's point, I think they will, but the three is not their forte. And yes, that Sparty IPA was really good if you're at the Breslin Center. $14. I mean, those are professional prices, but it was worth it. The Sparty IPA. That was my winner of the week.
They were strong too. It's a good thing we were staying in East Lansing after those. Let me just say that. They were I think those were like 7%ers at least.
Oh, they were. Yeah. They were.
Guys, to your point, Michigan State, number 319 in the nation in 3-point shooting last year. They won one game by 25 points. They played 30 some odd games. They won one game. They beat Niagara 96-60. It's the only game they won by this margin. So how they score this year, the same way they score, and especially against a team like this, is probably about stick back, second chance layups, foul shots, whatever. But yeah, when you only win one game by 25, who the heck wants to lay 24.5 with a team like that?
Brian, I gotta throw this to you because you made a point yesterday about SWAC teams for the most part, the crazy scheduling they go through, the fact that they never get games at home again unless it's like against like Mississippi, like they play like Bible studies or whatever. I think I saw someone playing the other day. Grambling has a home game against Southern Miss right here. That's interesting to me. Leg Show says Grambling -1 best bet. I made a number for this. I've actually got Southern Miss probably a -4, but I'll ask you, am I not giving Grambling enough credit for a rare home game here? Yesterday, we saw Longwood get that kind of rare, big non-conference home game, and they played very well against James Madison. So I'm just interested to see if you either have any takes about this one, and I know you kind of were talking SWAC basketball yesterday. So what do we think?
So I do agree with Grambling being a short favorite here at home. And yes, it is a rare spot. That's where I have pretty fired up. Now, Grambling, we've talked about coaching change as well. They lost their head coach to a conference rival. I don't know. I mean, how much does that matter? The home court? I mean, it shouldn't be just a one factor handicap, but I made this -2, so it's not a huge value as I break down as I do quick math with the power rating. So a slight lean to Grambling. You look at what these teams have done. Southern Miss, they're coming off a close loss to South Carolina last time
overtime.
Out.
Took them
big dog. And that begs the question: what do they have left in the tank here? Whereas Grambling, they're off a win at Howard. Okay, an outright win. They were 4.5-point dogs there. They come in probably with a little bit more. They're feeling themselves a little more confidence, if you will. So you twisted. This isn't a game I'm going to play, guys. But if you twisted my arm and forced me to, I hope you don't. I would take Grambling.
Yeah, I think, guys, real quick, I'll just jump in as somebody who, on a personal level, had a play on South Carolina's team total the other night, and Southern Miss had that team by double digits in the second half. And this bet is dead in the water. Miraculously, South Carolina at home was able to come back and tie that thing and push it into overtime, so the bet cashed. I think if you're talking about personnel between these two, I mean, also Southern Miss has played Buffalo. Buffalo's a 3-0 team. They went to Buffalo and played them tough as well. If you're looking at personnel in this game, there's no way in heck you're playing Grambling on their home floor or not. Southern Miss the better team. But if you're playing situationally, overtime loss that you had one close game with, but these things do start to, it's kind of early in the year to say that they add up and they multiply, but it gets tough. I think Southern Miss the better team. Grambling awfully dependent upon the three. Southern Miss gives up a lot of threes, so we'll see if they can cash in on that. But it's an interesting handicap because I can see the situational side and I can see the fundamental side.
I'll say one more thing because Keith brought him up. Jay Ladner, Southern Miss. Yeah, that was Southeastern Louisiana's coach before he got the Southern Miss job years ago. And I am personally like cautiously optimistic for Southern Miss relative to like they're getting picked at the bottom of the Sun Belt. Okay. And I look like he's playing like 13 guys a game right now. Like he has a large roster. One of the guys that I believe is on his team but hasn't played yet, probably because it ties back into the investigations from last year, is Landon Glasper, who was one of the guys that got kicked off NCAA, who is a very prolific scorer. So I saw that he was in practice with them. He has not played yet. But he has, I mean, he's got like 14. I literally think he's put like 14 guys in games so far this year, just playing anyway. I mean, a huge bench. And you have to wonder, like, so I guess I'll leave it at like the fact that like I'm not going to bet against them because I'm higher. Like I said, I made the number, I think 4. I'm going to kind of like look, I'm actually kicking myself for not taking the points with Southern Miss against South Carolina. I was way off on that number 2. I thought there was big value there, and there clearly was as they sent it to overtime. I think Southern Miss outclasses Grambling, probably wins here, but and they are a team that I will look to to fire on going forward. I think they might have something going there. Before we close out, quick thoughts. This is kind of the last game on the board, national TV. We haven't talked about it yet. I'll go to you first, Rob. Any Kansas State Cal thoughts for you? 9 p.m. national TV.
My initial thought was to play this game over. That total has moved, guys, 9 points. So I'm out. I think Mark Madsen, when he was at Utah Valley, they played a hectic pace and they played a hectic style that leads to opportunities. And K-State has been really, really good offensively so far this year. So, opening number 54, you kind of like total, but here 163. Market's probably priced me out.
Just real quick, and then I'm going to just drop my parlay leg to complete the parlay. It's a game we've already talked about, guys, so I'm not going to do a huge breakdown on that. But, as far as Kansas State goes, Cal off to its best start since 2019, 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the number. Mark Madsen, as Rob alluded to, he's got him believing in Berkeley, but it is a tough test going out to Manhattan. I think the question is what's going to hold up better, Cal's defense or Kansas State's offense, and the total move. Yeah, I don't know that's pretty crazy. But my parlay leg is going to be that St. Thomas team total over 82.5. I mentioned all the red in if you go to Green Bay's Ken Palm page. All the red that is lit up under defense for Green Bay. Here's just a few things. 356th in defensive efficiency, 348th in effective field goal percentage allowed, 362nd in turnover percentage, 352nd in free throw percentage allowed, free throw attempts allowed, 353rd in 2-point percentage allowed. Teams are shooting 67.7% inside the arc against Green Bay. They're 358th in steal percentage as well. So there's just really nothing. This team is doing very well defensively, and they didn't do anything very well defensively last year. Will they improve over time, Trigg? Maybe, but not tonight. St. Thomas, the Tommies, get theirs points-wise, and we don't have to worry about them covering an inflated number. Just get over 82.5 points. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they just opened a really nice new building that I believe that game will be in. I'll throw one thing out there about Kansas State Cal. I don't like either of those teams. I'm hoping Kansas State blows them out so I can fade Kansas State against Tulsa on Tuesday, because I think Kansas State just chucks threes and they don't really have much else outside of that. I wish I had more confidence in Cal. I think Cal's just atrocious. If I had more confidence in them, I would take the points. I don't. So I will root for Kansas State to win big so I can fade them next week. And we'll be here next week. I'll remind you on the day that I believe that's Tuesday game next week. And I'll also remind you what the parlay leg is, because we got to get off here before 11 a.m. So I'll go Cornell -5. I gave it out to clients at 4.5. Actually, you know what? No, 4.5. I'm seeing 4.5s at Caesars, BetMGM. There's enough 4.5. So we're going to go Cornell -4.5. LSU team total over 89.5 for Rob, and St. Thomas team total over 82.5 for BP. 6-1 parlay. Again, St. Thomas team total over 82.5. LSU team total over 89.5. Cornell -5. That's your parlay for Thursday. It is actually Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. We'll be back with the last show of the week. Enjoy the day basketball tipping off in a few minutes, and go check out the replay if you missed any part of the show. We'll see you guys tomorrow.